This is a Main Hustle Media podcast.
It sounds like one of the names they would have for a monarch. It's like Queen Javia the First, Black Radical Queer, among queer Negro women.
All the way from the A, you listen to my favorite lesbian on BRQ.
I'm on my black girl magic voodoo shit, with the bamboo earrings on some new shit. I'm new when this money asking who this bitch. I'm the bitch with the pussy with the judo grip.
Hey y'all, this is Javia Nicole, aka your favorite lesbian, and you're listening to Black Radical Queer Podcast, our stories on our own terms.
Hey y'all, this is Javia Nicole, and I'm back with another episode of Black Radical Queer Podcast. I have a group with me today, so that's a first. So as usual, I'm gonna have everyone introduce themselves, and then we will get into our conversation. So can start with Khallida.
Hi, my name is Khallida. I am 32 years old. I am identify as a bisexual woman in these streets of America.
In these streets?
And in the world. And I am just here to discuss whatever it is Javia wants to do.
Wow.
Along with accompanied by my girlfriend, who is here to support me as well. And for us to tell you guys all of our business.
They like to know that, as I see with me and Courtney.
I'm Chanel. I'm 29 years old. I identify as lesbian. I love women. And that's it.
Hey. Hey, I mean, what else can you say? Mic drop. But
I don't like men.
I know. I'm delivered. Okay. Stay focused.
And I'm the people's champ, Courtney. I'm back again. I know y'all missed me. I wasn't on the last one, but I'm back. So.
Oh, God.
I'm the favorite guest ever, so.
Fix it. Just fix it. All right. So, yeah, I'm not introducing myself because it's my shit. So it just is what it is. All right. So something that I've been getting questions about from listeners, they said they want to hear more from couples. They want to hear about more like relationship stuff because y'all nosy. I think that's what it is. Y'all nosy. And one of the questions I've gotten that me and Courtney got it before our Q&A, but I've also gotten it kind of as a general question that folks wanted to know how couples navigate kind of interacting with family, just kind of how their family accepts their relationship or doesn't accept, depending on what it is, that kind of stuff. So I guess since we have relationships, that we could go into that some. So for you all, and I meant to say, so Khallida is my cousin-in-law. So yeah, so that's my wife's cousin. So that y'all know who she is. But yeah, so for you all, how has it been so far in kind of like interacting with each other's families as you really kind of like, I guess, show the world that you're together?
Well, let's see. So when it comes to when I first met Chanel's family, everybody seemed to be cool and there was no issue at all. I don't know if I don't think that I was nervous, but I was interested to see how, the interaction would be. So everybody seemed very cool. No issues there. There's one sister though, however, who I guess is a jokester, has a sense of humor. So for a while, she would not call me her sister's girlfriend. Instead, she would just say, "Oh, that's Chanel's friend." And she's the same age as me, by the way. And apparently we went to elementary school together, by the way, and had no idea. But long story short, I think it's more so a joking, fun type of relationship that she likes to build with, I guess, people. As
was that the one at
me.
Your birthday?
Yes.
Okay, so I was like, who is this that keeps calling you her friend?
Exactly.
Like, she's like, Chanel's friend. I'm like...
Not even by my name. My name is Chanel's friend.
Chanel's friend. I'm like, who is this that keep... Okay. I didn't know who
I looked at you guys when she did
I
the
was
first
like,
time.
Okay.
But that hasn't really changed much. She doesn't say my name at all.
Wow.
But I don't take offense to it in any way. It's just... it is what it is. It's not a problem for me. And then in regards to my family, everybody is accepting. Everyone has welcomed Chanel into the family. Even though we've been together for 7 months at this point, but she's been to a lot of family functions with me. We're both very family oriented, so we end up at each other's events with family all the time. And so far, everybody's been extremely accepting and loving. My grandfather, who I've never even officially come out to in any way, was the first person to welcome her into the family, and it literally made me cry. Because he's 80 years old, but he pays attention and has a sharp mind. So that really touched my heart. That definitely touched my heart deeply. And when it came to thank you cards, if we gave them gifts for whatever reason, it would include Chanel's name in it, or my friend or whatever. So there's no exclusion happening. Very much loving and inclusive. But I'll let her speak for herself in regards to how she felt regarding my family.
Regarding Khallida's family, I was nervous, of course, because I feel like she does have a big family, and in regards to the family dynamics, it's their mom, dad, grandpa, aunts, uncles, cousins. And in regards to my family, it's just my sisters and my brother, and then my nieces and nephews. So kind of seeing that family dynamic and going into a big family, I was nervous to meet them. However, everyone was very welcoming, and I appreciated that. My sisters like her. They haven't said anything bad about her, so I would assume that they like her. That's pretty much my interaction.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Do you think it might have been easier, Khallida, since
she was I was wondering
the first gay?
She was the inaugural gay. So I ended up being brought around the family and kind of. I mean, even though it wasn't a bad experience or anything, but at this point they oh well. We got the gay in our family, so you know what I mean. It's not new.
To answer Courtney's question, I think that she definitely paved the way.
You paved the way.
She paved the way. She opened the door. It was an easier transition. The type of person and personality that I have, I'm more so I'm coming in, this is who I have with me, this is my life, this is what it is, you accept it or you don't. When it comes to my family specifically, that's how I am. And so with that being said, I probably still would have introduced you the exact same way, whether Courtney was the first one to, have an openly same-sex relationship within our family. But at the same time, I think everybody was very comfortable with the idea of whomever bringing someone home. But I think in general, it always makes it easier when it's women as opposed to any men bringing any men home, which has not happened ever. But, I think that everybody is very... in our family is extremely loving and accepting. And also, too, the way that I have grown to accept myself is one of those things of take it or leave it when it comes to the family. So it's if you're not accepting, well, then, okay.
Right.
And we're so close as a family on this side that no one would ever want to interrupt the family dynamics that we have. So I don't think that it would ever boil down to someone saying, okay, well, because you identify as this, we can't accept it.
Right.
And then whatever else comes from
you out.
Repercussions. We wouldn't do that.
That would be messed. I mean, some people do it, but that would be really messed up.
Well, I'm glad that we are part of a family who respect and love one another, beyond those type of things.
Right.
Our love is stronger than those other things to tear somebody apart or a family apart.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you never know what to expect when you're meeting someone's family. For me, it was kind of similar to what Chanel said, because my family, I have extended family. When I think about my core family, the people that immediately come to mind who she would be meeting or whatever, it's not that many. So to me, looking at you all's family, it is a big family, especially considering that y'all that get together pretty consistently or whatever. Because when we went back to Atlanta for my grandma's funeral, Courtney met a lot more of my family, but this is family from New York, New Jersey, from further away who are not there on a regular basis. So it's more extended family. So that's not the folks who we always see at the holidays and, that type of thing, versus with you all's family. It's a pretty good sized group of people that you see like at every kind of family function. So that was different for me because when I introduced her to my family, it was like my mama, sister, and I have other sisters, but like the sister I grew up with, my cousins, it wasn't that many. It was like everybody pretty much in the same house, grandma, mama, my cousins, and my sister. So meeting you all's family, like coming to a family function, like when I moved out here, the first time was overwhelming. Mm-hmm. It was just a lot. I was like, it's a lot. I was like, it's a lot of people. Like who? No, and I'm trying to ask her like, how is this person connected to? It's a lot. I'm still trying to learn.
You haven't even met my dad's side of the family.
Right.
His family
this is
twice as
right,
big as
and it's
his
just the mom's side, right? So that's big, and but part of it too was my thing was we had already been together. Well, this 2018, so we had already been together a few years or something before I met like that much of your family. Like initially, I met like your mom, I met Daisha and your dad, and I met Khallida, but I think it was when you came into town for a job interview. So that was it. But I hadn't really met, a lot of folk. So by the time I came out here and met more people, we had been together, 3 years, over 3 years. So I think too, they had already, we were just together. So I think at this point, we're just accepted. It's just being together. It's like, oh, this is who she's going to be with. It just kind of is what it is, as opposed to it being like a fling or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I will say though, even though our family's accepting, like when you proposed, I still was hesitant to I don't know. It's like, I don't know how to navigate that. I was hesitant to tell. And Grandpa's like, why didn't you tell me she proposed? I was like, I don't know. That's something you're going to get excited about. You know what I mean? I don't even think I called anybody.
I mean, that whole situation too was because I asked, for one, we had already been talking about like getting married and stuff. But before I proposed, I asked your parents like for their blessing. So at first, I think it was like, when I proposed, it's like, okay, we had already been talking about getting married. But when I told you that, then that seemed to surprise you more than the proposal itself. Because I did actually ask them like, hey, what do you guys think? What do you know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of wanted to get what their perspective was on our relationship. But like Khallida was saying, when you're like, okay, well, this is who I'm with. I don't want to sound bad, but that's kind of how I felt like, okay, well, I'm going to marry your daughter. So,
even if, right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, whether you accept it or not, this is happening because we've already, had a conversation like, this is who I want to share my life with. But it would be better, it would make it, better if you accept it, or just, it did make it better, but it wasn't hinged on that. So I'm like, okay, of course I would like you all's blessing. I don't want y'all to think your daughter's with like some bum or something. But even if I don't get it, that don't mean I ain't gonna propose. So that's just kind of.
It's interesting though, just your conversation just reminded me because I actually did have a conversation with Courtney's mom, my auntie Corliss, just in regards to my new relationship and, it wasn't deep in regards to coming to family functions or anything. It was just kind of like me, I guess, speaking my thoughts out loud, and my auntie Corliss just happened to be the person I was speaking to. Because it was like, I haven't exactly come out to Grandpa. And he's like, a very important person to me, very close to my grandpa. So, not that I was afraid to tell him, I just wasn't sure how to go about it, or anything. And so she was just saying, it's completely, fine in regards to whomever you bring home to family functions because we all love you and we just want you to be happy,
right.
At the end of the day. So, that was a conversation that we had, but going back a little bit further to what Courtney said, I feel like a test run was definitely
because she wasn't when I came out.
I know she wasn't, and also she and I used to have conversations concerning you too, where I was of course your advocate, or at least trying to navigate her own thoughts with someone else other than you, I guess, so that you wouldn't be upset or whatever the case. So she would tell me certain things and I would just kind of try to give her a perspective, about it. But yeah, she wasn't always on board whatsoever. And it took her a lot. She had a path to walk.
And you're also her child. It's still different. You're her niece, but you're her child.
Right.
And so you had to navigate it from the time of coming out, like, younger to being an adult. Because I think that's the difference. Of course, like, my family loves you. But I went through my, trials and tribulations, all kind of stuff with coming out young. I was young when I came out. I was like 14 when I came out. My grandma was the person who was like, oh, I already knew, whatever. My mom was like, pump the brakes, initially. Mm-hmm. So by the time we got together, hell, we had years, a decade or something of being out, so at this point it's like, oh, it ain't a phase. Oh, no. Oh, you gay. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, might as well just accept it. So at that point, we had already gone through that kind of initial younger coming out. Oh my God, my child is gay. That kind of stuff. I'm like, we're grown now. So it's different.
With me, it was one of those things where there were definitely a lot of hiccups, a lot of arguments and things like that with my mother and also with my dad too, like just these conversations and these debates regarding sexuality in general, regarding my sexuality, like not speaking for a little while, and when I mean a little while, like a week or something like that, and things like that, but just trying to make my position known in regards to how I identify myself and what needs to be accepted and what I would also like, of course, to be accepted as well, so I think we've all had our journeys, and mine started probably at the age of maybe like 20.
Really?
It started
don't do her like that
at the age of 20 in regards to an official coming out, and then it's been a journey since then, but I
feel like it's in some ways just coming out and over and over. And I'm just
right. That's a part of it, especially as a woman who is extremely feminine and presents as a very feminine person. The assumption is always that I'm straight. So it's like, do I choose this moment to correct the person when they're thinking I'm talking about a boyfriend? Do I choose this moment to just let it go? Just like this is not the conversation I wish to have right now.
Right.
It's odd because strangers always assume I'm straight too. And
she gets hit on by guys.
No, I mean like in conversation, like when I was going to Atlanta to get married. So I was like, and telling my Lyft driver, I'm going to get married. Oh, how's your husband? And I was like,
I am your husband, girl.
You know what I mean? But I was like, I didn't correct him. I'm not. First of all, I'm in the car with a stranger. I'm not
exactly.
You.
Yeah.
I don't know you.
Sometimes it's a safety thing. I don't always correct. Because I don't know this person and I don't know how you might react. I mean, even though it's 2018, we still got folks who are absolutely homophobic. And in that kind of situation, you're in a Lyft or Uber, that kind of thing.
It's not important.
Yeah. Right. It's like this is a fleeting moment in my life. Like I don't have to pour out my life story because that's what people assume. And I'm not technically out at work. I mean,
well, I guess I am.
Yeah, I've been to
but
your
one
job.
of my coworkers is like, because I wear a ring, so you can. We're gonna have this event. You can bring your husband. And I was like, Jay, I don't have a husband. And he was like, that's all I said. And he was like, real confused.
You should have been like, yeah, I'm gonna bring my husband, and I'm gonna make sure I look extra film that day.
No, but I don't. That was like the only time I corrected someone. Well,
I never have that issue. I get called sir, so.
Which is ridiculous to me.
It's so crazy, but you've been called sir before, and so have I. So
I have a husband, and I'm a sir. So
exactly.
I don't know,
because I definitely get called, especially with my I get called. So I'm just like, what?
They never assume with you?
No, never asked about a boyfriend or nothing. I mean, if I get hit on by guys, they know I'm gay, but
they'll still hit on you. Because guys don't care. They think they're the exception.
And one dude complimented me. He said, I don't mean to disrespect you, but I think you're pretty. I don't mean nothing, but I said thank you.
You can be pretty and be a.
That's what I'm saying. I said, I take compliments. Thank you.
Wow.
And one time we were in DC walking down the street. These dudes came up in the car, a group of gay guys, black gay guys, and they was like, "Oh, you better hold her hand. You better hold her hand." Basically telling me that my relationship is being threatened because they're
trying to get her
themselves.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
yeah, because she's interesting. Because she has like a slightly more masculine presentation, even though she's very much
more
a woman.
Androgynous. Yeah, because you look.
But
like
they
a woman
knew that she was a woman, But they also, if she was a man, they would try to holler like.
They might try to holler as a woman.
As a woman, yeah.
Hey, it's real. Like that has happened to me before. I'm like, this dude was like, listen, no, this gay guy, he was just like, look. He talking about, look, girl, ain't nobody that gay. I was like, wow.
I never heard that.
I don't know how to feel about this. Yeah.
Nobody that gay.
I think, a lot of times with guys, presentation just doesn't matter. No matter how I present it, whether I'm more femme presenting or more masculine presenting, always get hit on by guys. It does not matter.
Men have just an abundance of confidence, no matter what.
Yeah, they like, and even if they do think
who have literally nothing to offer you, will still try and hit on you.
Right,
and that's bizarre to me.
Right,
that you think that I would sleep with you on the street.
Right,
but they're gonna shoot their shot because they're men.
Yeah, it's just
that's bizarre.
I want that confidence in my life. That's I mean, even if they do feel like that, even if they know that you like women, they still, that doesn't matter. They're still gonna shoot their shot. They're like, because I'm the one, you know, I'm that one that's gonna just change the game, girl. And I'm like,
I recently had a run-in with that with someone who I felt like would respect the relationship that I have because he's met Chanel, seen her on many occasions, also said that he respects the gay community or LGBTQAI, whatever community, and still and yet when Chanel was not around, he decided to shoot his shot.
Wow. Of course.
And so with that being said, I have to find a new barber.
Oh man.
Really?
You know what?
Wow.
I've had some of the most ridiculous experiences at the barbershop as a lesbian. Like, it's been so ridiculous. I was telling Courtney when I was with this chick who shall not be named prior to her.
Lord Voldemort.
Right, when I was with Voldemort. We would go to the barbershop, and I mean, the questions that we would get asked, like, so invasive about just like about our sex life and all kind of stuff. And I'm like, it trips me out because I'm like, when you just see people on the street or whatever, you're not walking up to them asking them about their sex life, but you feel comfortable asking me that because you feel like you have more access. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel like it's okay. Like, oh, I can ask you that. I'm like, or even your other customers that are coming in, you're not asking every customer that you have about their sex. Like, if you have a woman, like a straight woman, and she got a man, and they come in there, she come in there with her man, you're not asking them about their sex life.
That's the same thing I actually said to my old barber. I said the exact same thing. I said, you know, relationships between women are not actually respected.
Right.
I said, because if my boyfriend were to have come in and you met him the same amount of times that you met Chanel, I said that you would not, even if he wasn't here this one time, you know, you wouldn't ask me or let me know that, you know, if ever I wish to, you know, no longer be with him, then, you know, and shoot your shot, you wouldn't do it. But I said, because I'm with a woman and it's not respected, you don't acknowledge that as a real relationship.
Right.
It doesn't feel threatened.
Exactly. They don't feel like it's anything to worry about.
Yep.
Yeah. Because but a lot of guys feel like, oh, this is what you're doing until I come along. Like, I'm the one. You know what I'm saying? I'm just about to change the game.
Right.
So once I come along, then that won't matter anymore. Like, I'm that guy. Like, you've been with women forever, girl, but I'm the one that's gonna, you know, change that.
But the only thing that they can offer that I guess we can't really offer is in like a sexual manner. It's just like, what else? What else?
At the same time, though.
But women can still.
No, I'm saying what they're thinking.
Yeah, from their perspective.
It's
but
just
we're like,
but nothing else. There's nothing else that you can do.
They don't even be good at. Not even good at it. So it's like, you really get it. I mean,
that is so true.
I mean, my podcast is not for children, so it don't matter. But I'm just like, look, I'm not the person to like come in like that because I'll hurt your feelings. I have had that happen before. I'm just like, look, this is not what you want. Like, I'm trying to tell you, I'm not the one. I'm just not. And then this dude, I remember I was on a train in Atlanta. I dealt with so many things on MARTA. It was ridiculous. I got like just riding public transportation. I got harassed so much. It was just a lot. But this one time, me and my friend, I was with Keisha. We were on the train, minding our black ass business. We ain't messing with nobody. We're just talking. So this guy tries to talk. First, he tried to talk to me. Then he tried to talk to her, and we're like, we're not interested, right? So then he was like, I guess once we were like, hey, we're not interested, he assumed we were together. And even though we were not, I'm just like, I'm not going to correct you because I want you to leave me alone. So if you think this is my woman, that's my woman today. That's fine. So then he's like, oh, you know, you just ain't had a man to do it, right? And blah, blah. And I'm just like, I just doubt very seriously that it's you.
That is you.
I don't feel confident that you're that one that's going to just change my life. And I don't have faith in you, bro. I just don't. And he got in his, I told him that. I was just like, I don't think it's you. I don't think you're the one. I'm sorry to say. I was like, I feel like I have more experience with women than you do. And he was like, ooh. So then he was like, oh, hell no.
Real spicy that day, huh? That's dangerous, girl. Ooh.
Child. He was like, these dykes, you know, this guess what he comes. These dykes. Oh, okay.
So when your feelings are hurt, when your ego is bruised.
Exactly. Now I'm all kind of bitches and hoes and dykes and stuff. And I was like, I'll be that. That's fine. Your girl loves it. It's fine. He just was like,
man.
He like, this bitch, yeah. I just was, but this was after like this happening so many times. I was just like fed up at that point.
Yeah, it gets to the point where you don't care about your safety no more. You just want to fight.
I mean, it was a public place. You know, I had what I had on me. I know I at least had a knife or something. No, Ratatouille. Shut up. I don't know. I probably had a knife or something. I used to carry a knife. I didn't have a gun, but you know, shank real quick if you got to. Okay. Anyway, so how do you feel like? Did you actually come out to your grandfather?
No.
Oh.
I guess we're on the same page with that one. I never came out to our grandpa either. But grandpa got this.
So how did he?
I've only came out to my parents officially.
Oh, okay. So everybody else is just like,
well, with our family, you tell one person, you told everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, so.
Especially if it gets to my mom. Then it's like a wildfire.
She's like the dispatch. Khalida's mom is dispatch, so it's like once she know, she's like extra. You know about it. What's that guy Paul Revere? The British are coming. That's your mama coming through on the horse. She coming through on the horse like I got a news for you, baby. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That is 100% accurate.
So all you got to do is tell her she will disseminate the information everywhere.
Yeah. So I told my mother. I'm sure she called Karen, and then boom, it was.
The rest is history.
Yeah. So I'd have to.
I mean, and you all's family never acted like funny or anything. Like, I mean,
but behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, that's the. But I mean, like,
everybody deals with, behind the scenes, everyone has their opinions, and everyone deals with things on their own.
Well, they acted full on me like right there, like immediately. So I didn't have to worry about behind the scenes. It was an immediate visceral
with
reaction.
your mom and dad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It just tripped me out because knowing how Courtney's experience was, like from us, getting to know each other, and us like sharing our stories with each other, and then meeting her family, because by this time so much time has passed, and just how her parents were with me, or how the family, I don't know. It just shows that time has passed, and that like people, change and grow and all that, because it's very interesting to me. There's with my family, some of the people who I thought would have an issue with it didn't. And it was kind of like vice versa.
Okay.
Like, I thought my mom would immediately be, like, accepting. That was not the case. I thought my sister, the sister that's next to me, who I grew up with, I thought she would be, like, on some other, and she was not. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I just didn't know how it would turn out. Mm-hmm. But you never know.
How did Mo react to you? Did you come out to Mo?
Mo is Khalida's brother.
Right.
Because everybody don't know who Mo is.
Mo is my brother. Who I grew up with, because I do have other siblings, but he is the main one. Let me see. So years ago, I told Mo, and Mo actually knew. Mo's probably the first person to know, to be honest with you. But at the same time, he also had his thoughts in regards to relationships between men and women, but at the same time, he also expressed that he loves his family. So and this was years ago, I don't know what his take is like as of today, and I'm sure it has evolved because we talked about other things that his mind has evolved on regarding sexuality. But initially he was I don't know. Okay, I'll just speak in terms of our family and Courtney and myself. So at first he wasn't like pro gay relationships, but he was always pro family. So because he specifically said that he loves us, so it doesn't matter, what our sexualities are, that trumps it. So I don't know to this day, if he thinks in the same way in regards to just like accepting but not being for, which are like two different things. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure that it has evolved a lot since those conversations of, let's just say 7 years ago, 6 years ago. Mm. Yeah. I think he just feels like everybody should just, whoever you're happy with. Actually, you know what? Let me take that back. Not take it back, but he actually recently, when I introduced him to Chanel and my relationship, that I was in a relationship and everything, he expressed to me how he's never seen me so happy, and he feels like that, he likes that I'm in a really, really good place. And, he likes our relationship. He likes Chanel. And so, yeah, actually, he has come full circle with it. He actually has.
That's great.
I never got the chance to come out to my mom. I don't think I ever would have if she was alive. But after she passed away, I was free and gay to tell the world. And I didn't care about what anybody else said. It was just like her opinion mattered. So I didn't come out at the time. I would always get threatened about whether I'm gay or not. Are you gay? If you're gay, I'll beat your ass. And
gosh.
So I just never came out to her. But I mean, once she passed away, I was like able to tell everybody. And once I told my sisters, they were just like, oh, we already knew. But they still had their opinions about the whole, like it's a sin. And, well, some of them, it's a sin. And you should try being with a man before a woman and just all these things. But I can't, I don't like men. So
there's that.
I can't do anything about that. But they're accepting. They have no choice. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like at a certain point, similar to what Khallida said, you have to make your decision. Are you going to allow this one part of a person's identity? Because this is not what makes you up in your entirety. Are you going to allow that one thing to totally jeopardize your relationship with them or not? And for some people, they do choose to allow it to. They're like, you know what? I just can't get over, even though that's one thing about you that really has nothing to do with them. Really, but they just I can't get over it. I can't move past it. And I just had to be let it go. I mean, on my father's side, I'm not very close to my father's, my family on my father's side, except for one of my sisters. Cause that's just who I've been around the most. But, it's I remember when when I initially came out, I actually didn't tell them. I told my father was in prison. I told him in a letter. Looking back, I actually don't even know why I told him because I remember not caring what he thought. I didn't really care about his opinion. I'm I guess I was just telling him just to tell him, I was writing him a letter, just kind of updating him on my life. So I guess that's why I told him because I don't remember being invested in his opinion. But when
I love that phrase. I'm not invested in your opinion. I'm just not. Put on Instagram as a post.
So I just really wasn't. But by the time, so I came out to my father's mother, so my grandmother on that side. And that was interesting. That was such a stereotypical, how sometimes when people describe their, especially from religious families, when they describe their coming out experience, how they say the kind of Bible thumping type of thing. Absolutely what my experience was. And I went through that with some other family members too. I mean, on my mom's side, I grew up in the church. I was in choir, doing all the other kind of stuff, Southern Baptist family. But my core family were kind of I don't know, a little bit, they're kind of the hippies. We had our family who was hardcore in the church, and my mom and grandma and stuff were not so hard. They were spiritual and, believe in God and all that, but they were not Bible thumping, whatever. They weren't that hardcore. But on my father's side, my grandmother is a minister. She wasn't always a minister. So this is actually, she became a minister since I've been an adult. So she wasn't a minister. I don't think she was a minister yet when I came out to her. I think by the time I actually came out to her, I think I was 20. So by this time I had already been out for 6 years. I didn't really care what nobody else thought, but I was in a relationship with someone I thought I was going to marry. And that was the only reason. So really, Courtney did the Kim and Matumbo, not in my house. Yeah, thank God. Oh, thank God I haven't met her. Lord Jesus, good looking out, Lord, good looking out. But yeah, so I came out to my grandmother on my father's side, and it was definitely classic Bible thumping. It's a sin, and you should just try to be with a man. And mind you guys, I actually tried that. I did try it. I was in a relationship with a guy for almost 2 years. And yeah, hell to the no. So, yeah, so it was just a terrible experience, coming out to her. And, I just remember being like, I'm not going to speak to her again. I'm 30 years old. I did not talk to my grandma for years. Just this year, she started reaching out to me. Or maybe last year. I know for sure this year, like definitely since I've been married, she's been reaching out to me like, oh, how are you doing? Blah, 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 whatever. And she'll ask me, she won't say my wife, but she'll say like, how are you and your partner? I wish she would call her my friend. This is a whole wife, and you call her my friend, it's a problem. No, so she'll say like you and your partner, or how's your marriage going, that kind of thing. She keep it kind of generic.
Right.
But because at one time she did say something about my friend. Like this was like when we were just dating, something about my friend, and I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. Like, I was just like, who? My what? I was like, that's my woman. If that's gonna be a problem, then
That was said with some conviction.
So you talk to your grandma? Jesus.
to that one. My other grandma was, I mean, you know how she was about you, so yeah, that wasn't even an issue. But yeah, I was just like, that's not my friend. Like, that's my woman. So yeah.
Yeah, with my dad's side of the family, I have not brought anybody around them at all in regards to someone I was dating. Like never. And part of it is because I had not up until now found any quality person to even bring around.
There's that.
Whether a guy,
person,
right?
Thanks.
Good quality
Yes.
over there. It's a good quality woman.
whether guy or girl, and anybody who I was talking to, it was just a short-lived little, blurb in my life. So my dad would meet them because I was living with my dad at the time. But as far as family functions, like no one, I never brought anybody home. And so, or to any of those things on my dad's side. So no one, I've never had a conversation regarding my sexuality, but it's so funny because one of my uncles can say that he was right on my dad's side because he started to speculate. Just last year or maybe 2 years ago, I was at a function on that side of the family, and so my uncle was like, I never see you with anybody.
You already know what that means.
Like, she never bring anybody around. And so here goes my dad.
She got the game.
He was like, I never see her with anybody or whatever. Nobody's ever around. And so then my dad was like, no, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I met a few.
You right?
No. My dad was like, no, I met a few of them. Is what my dad was trying to say or whatever, because he's met like people in the who, since I was living with him, if I was talking to somebody or an ex-boyfriend or something like that or whatever the case, like he met them, but that's where it started, that's where it ended, because it was never anything serious, right? So it was just that. So that's what his response was. No, I met some, but they no one has ever met anyone. Fast forward to my relationship, to our relationship. I recently posted a picture of Chanel on my Instagram for the first time. And so that was the first picture. But then even more recent, since Thanksgiving, we took some pictures at my family's Thanksgiving dinner. And so I posted one of those pictures. And so that's where you get the likes, that's where you get the comments. And everything was, all the comments were very nice. And all the comments kept saying, y'all cute. Y'all cute together. Y'all cute. And some of them did come from some of my family on my dad's side. So I actually, so in that regard, and a family member who's actually pretty religious, one of my cousins, and I know that she, does not agree with same-sex, relationships, I guess. And so she still has, because she's religious, and she has that thought process about, if somebody's gay and you're hanging out with them, then they're trying, at some point, they're going to try you.
Oh, Lord.
Or whatever.
They're going to be gay by association.
Or gay by association, or try you.
Catch the game. Yeah,
catch the game.
And she's confused.
So, that's her thought. That was been her thought, because before knowing anything about myself, that's what she said to my sister, because my half-sister, her best friend or ex-best friend is bisexual. And so that friend, it was completely known to everybody. Like, she wears her sexuality on her sleeve. So even though she was married to a man and everything, she still was very much a bisexual woman. Like, everybody knows this. So she made a comment regarding their friendship. And so I already know how the
kind of where she stood.
Where she stood. But like I said, I mean, whatever. She commented on the picture. She was like, y'all cute. So I don't know,
For some people, that's a lot of progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not, it's going to sound kind of bad. I guess I don't really care ultimately about other folks' progress. It's like, okay, this is our relationship. So whether you agree with it or not, I had to kind of step away from caring so much. I did used to care a lot about, what family thought, what friends thought, what whoever thought about my relationship or my sexuality. But I'm like, you're not in it. Like, this is who I'm, this is who I'm waking up next to, all that kind of stuff. Like, why does it matter? So I just had to take a step back from that. So I'm like, okay, even with my grandmother, like on my grandmother on my dad's side, even though now she seems to have some kind of progress or whatever, I don't care, because I'm like, well, I still got to live my life, and you can be a part of it or not. I'm not pressed, honestly, about you being a part of it. If you are, fine. So I don't reject her, like when she calls, because initially she has started calling me, and I'll be looking at my phone like,
kind of like an accident, like
right, like it's an emergency, something, and then she just like, oh, I'm just calling to see how you're doing, and that blew my mind. But at the same time, I'm like, that's fine, if you want to do that, that's fine, but I'm also not pressed about it either. Like, it's up to you.
That's good, because I'm not even gonna try with my dad's mother. That relationship, she scared me one time. I don't even know how long ago it was. She told me she wanted to keep me and prey on me, and I was like,
like the PREY.
Yeah,
right, like on some exorcism type stuff.
I don't know how old I was, but my first thought was she's gonna keep me in the basement somewhere and
try to pray the gay away and fling holy water at you,
on me, and
try to conversion therapy.
So I will hop on a flight.
Man,
so that was the last time.
Yeah, after that, it's like you can't really come back from that.
I've been down there one time for like a funeral something. She didn't even talk to me at the funeral.
That's fine.
So I'm like,
so you gotta respect your elders. When you start trying to harm my cousins, I will slap you in your face.
Yeah, like it's a problem. Yeah, like some stuff is not.
Don't do
it's
that.
just not okay. Yeah, it's like other folks can't live here. That's the thing too. Like when because when I first came out to my mom, and it was crazy. Like I always saw my mom and my grandmother as these very like open, accepting people, and they are. And it was kind of like, oh, I knew my mom had like gay friends. My mom worked at a lesbian bar, like for a while. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. But it was different because it was me. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of shifted her perspective on a lot of things. Like I was very much a tomboy. So I used to look like a little boy, which was completely fine until I came out. Then she was like, oh, hell no, So then that became then the way I dressed became a problem. I'm like, I've been dressing like this. I've been like, so it was just like that kind of stuff. I had to just step back from it. But once time passed and she had more time to, I guess just get used to it. And she actually came back to me and like apologized and was like, I'm sorry that I reacted that way. Cause initially she was like, I hope it's a phase. I was like, it's not, but okay. And then for a while we just didn't talk about it. So when I would be dating someone, I just kind of kept it on the low. And I didn't bring anybody home. I didn't do any of that. Or I was just like, that's my friend. Mm-hmm. No one is more than my friend, but that's my little friend or whatever. But then once so it wasn't until college. So the first person I actually brought home, was a guy. Mm-hmm. When I tried, to turn my life around, I guess. And it was crazy because like that seemed to be a turning point for her because I brought this guy home and my mom was like, he's nice, but that's not it. Like, she was just like, he's nice, but I don't see it. Like, that's not the person you're going to be with. Like, you're going to be with a woman. Like, that's just who you are. So she was just like, you don't have to, like, feel like you have to stay in this just because that's what you like, you feel like it's more acceptable or whatever. Like, if you're not happy. And I did love him, but she was just like, this isn't like your lifetime, person or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then when I brought a woman home, then it was like, she was like, okay, this actually seems like, a better fit for you. Mm-hmm. Not that particular woman, but being with the woman. So I don't know, she had to actually see me. And I thought everything was fine or whatever. I liked them or whatever, but my mom just, I don't know, from her observing, she was just like, nah. I think that's when she really was like, it sank in like, hey, it's not a phase. So I was like 18. And by the time I got to 19, she was like, oh, I want to apologize for how I reacted. And, kind of gave me her reasoning for going through all that. But my grandmother was the one who was like, oh, I knew, baby, whatever. Like, she was like, oh, yeah, that little girl used to babysit. y'all used to like each other. I'll be like, oh Lord. So she was like, I knew from the time you was real little, because y'all used to be playing. And I'm just like, she got a little girlfriend. That's what my girlfriend be talking. I'm like, what in the world?
Also your mom's mom.
Mm-hmm. My mom's mom, the one who just passed.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But I assumed that it would be all good, because I'm like, oh, my folks are accepting, they're kind of hippie-ish, whatever, and that was not.
I guess me too, like slightly, because my mom and dad definitely are two people who don't go with the norms in regards to their own relationship. You know,
right? Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You had 2 kids, and then when one of them turns 26, that's when y'all get married, you know,
right,
or whatever. And there's like a lot of,
or even like living separately, or
living separately, but still actually being together.
Right.
You know, it's like a lot of things that are not with what is considered normal in our society.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and my dad, and they're also, neither are religious people. They're spiritual, and then my dad especially. So it's like, you know, you would assume a lot of things, but then sometimes people, you know, they get tied to certain thought processes that they've had or were, you know, told were the norm from like a young age. So sometimes those, you know, they don't die in regards to, you know, like
it's ingrained
how you
deep.
think. It's ingrained deep. And so, you know, that's why there was a, I don't know, like an upward battle in regards to me coming out and letting them know, you know, who I'm dating or whatever. And just because I'm dating a guy right now does not mean
I'm no longer
well for you guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm no
like,
longer.
woo-hoo! Yeah, I know.
Right.
We're in the clear.
Yeah,
she's
not
back.
at all.
She's straight.
Not
like,
at all.
you know,
because I would get offended by the littlest things. You know, like if I was into somebody or dating someone and they weren't doing what they needed to do, you know, or they were just all talking, no action or whatever. And I'm getting, you know, saddened by this because I wanted to go further. And let's just say I reach out to what normally people would reach out to their mom. My mistake, but I did. And so I would tell her this, you know, these things or how I'm feeling and stuff. And she'd be like, you know, it's okay. The right man will come along. And that would trigger something in me to like upset me because I felt like I still wasn't being acknowledged. Like my sexuality was not being acknowledged. Like this is one person right now, you know, and he happens to be a guy. But I'm telling you that I'm bisexual. So at any point, your bubble could be burst because, you know.
that right man who come along gonna be a woman.
Right.
What you gonna do?
So there was... And that was actually not too long ago, like maybe 2 years ago, because like you said, there's a time when you don't have the conversation. So people think that their daughter or whoever is in the clear.
Because you don't look at it, it's not there.
Right,
exactly.
Right,
if I pretend.
Right. I'm not, because we're not actively having this conversation, because the last time we had this conversation, or because the last girlfriend, or whatever the case was, however many years ago, that's no longer an issue. Ta-da! You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know? So
I'm still here.
Right, exactly. Like I'm still who I was. Like my sexuality is what's remaining constant.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have to acknowledge that that's what it is. Right. So, you know, we had an issue regarding that because I felt like I wasn't being seen by somebody who I felt like should see me or I wanted to see me because, of course, it's your parents. So that's what you want. After a while, like I said, we both had this moment, but it was more me doing my own work where it was like, you know, take it or leave it. And also not necessarily being so invested in my mom's opinions or her thoughts. Like she has her own journey, right? And I have mine, but I can't be so hung up to where it like brings me to tears or, you know what I'm saying? So that I had to work on myself.
You have to remember they're still...
And I'm in a better place because...
individuals. It's like, you know, our parents, our family, whoever, these are still individuals outside of their relation to us. So some stuff is like... Some stuff is going to be able to, you know, be worked out or smooth over. And some stuff won't. Like, we won't see eye to eye on everything. And that's okay. But it is more difficult when it's your parent. But it's still something we have to keep in perspective, which is like what I had to end up doing with my mom. Even though it ended up coming back around and being all right. But in that in-between time, I was just like, I can't, because then my life will turn into what I feel like my mom thinks I should do or what I think these other family members feel like I should do. Then I'm not living for myself when they got their own lives, you know, to live. So you can only live for yourself. And I had to really keep that in mind because I felt like I was being pulled in different directions and like, oh, well, this person, like this aunt said this. And I'm just like, but I got to live my own life. And we have to, a part of, I feel like our culture, period, is kids kind of living up to certain things that their parents expect, you know, like their parents' expectations of them or their parents' vision for them. Like, oh, my child's going to be a doctor. And then the child going to med school and really wants to, you know, be an artist or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so common. Or even if it's like, oh, well, my family says I should be a lawyer. I really want to be a teacher, or I really want to be a construction worker. But you feel like you have to do what it is that those, you know, fulfill that vision that somebody else created for you that you didn't even get to create for yourself.
Right.
So we all have to really like curate our own lives. Like we can't, that's not up to anybody else to be kind of like that artistic director or whatever around our stuff, when it's like, no, you get to decide how you want to live your life. And then our parents just have to accept that. Some don't. Some are just like, you out here doing this and the third, I don't agree with it. And they, you know, choose to jeopardize a relationship. For me, I can't fathom that because I'm like, that's my child. So, you know, but they're individuals. So, you know, everybody got to kind of go through it their own way.
It's just an interesting relationship, parent-child. It's just, you know, because now that I have a child, you know,
that's your dog.
Child, exactly.
No, but legit, you know, when you're out there, you're like, dang, please don't embarrass me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
everything comes back to you.
Obviously, humans are not dogs, but yeah, it all goes back to, okay, people looking at me like, I don't have no control, or I don't have, you know what I mean?
But then that's ego. That's ego.
But humans have egos. That's what
I know,
I'm
saying, but it's like we have to kind of step back from that because you don't get to dictate somebody else's life because of your ego. It's like, you know, we have to unpack it and actually realize,
your biases, whatever.
Right.
But I do think that, you know, piggybacking off of what you said, but going a little bit further, you know, as far as our parents curating our lives or us allowing that to happen, as soon as you recognize that that's what you have allowed, then at a certain point, you know, it's okay to start from that point in regards to redirecting the rest of your life.
Right.
You know, and it's going to come with some hiccups, but at the same time, once you see that that's what's been happening and that's where your unhappiness has lied, it's lied with you just, you know, thinking about what this person thinks and what that person thinks. And then at the end of the day, they're happy and they're fine.
Right, but you're miserable.
That's when you have to, you know, take the reins and say, this is my life. And I've spent this whole time doing it this way. Now I want to do it my way.
Right.
And, you know, if you fall on the way, it's not going to be perfect.
Right.
You know, but as long as you decide that whatever the outcome is, it was an outcome that you chose. I think that's very, very important.
I mean, me and this girl were talking about basically being in the driver's seat of your life instead of being a passenger. And so when parents, you know, when folks have kids, like they feel like they're in the driver's seat. And in a lot of ways they are. But then once you become an adult, then, you know, you have to take, you know, basically take the wheel. Yeah, because you do have to have your autonomy. Like that has to start being ingrained. So it's basically like they're in the driver's seat. You have to learn how to drive. And then you are doing all the driving, you know, type of thing. But so many times it's like we feel like, oh, I got to go the way that they want me to go. And it's just like,
well, a big part of that is society tells you, you know, they bring you into this world. You're supposed to be grateful for that. You're supposed to be grateful for everything they provide, and you're supposed to want to pay them back.
Right.
And so,
even though you didn't ask for it.
Right. I mean, you brought me to this world. You should take care of me. Like,
right. Like, I didn't ask you to do this. Right. This is your decision.
But, you know, we're supposed to be grateful. I'm supposed to pay them back. And so a lot of that is like some psychological shit where you're like, okay, if I do this and it makes her upset, but I'm supposed to be making her happy. I'm supposed to pay her back.
That's the
providing
payback
for me. Right.
The payback is doing what they envision for you.
Right. So, yeah, it's difficult.
I would like to say, though, so not throwing my parents under the brush, but they are all for my relationship and they love Chanel. and also they are happy that I'm happy. So, like I said, everything has come full circle regarding my sexuality and how my parents view it or how they interact with whomever I'm with, and you know, even providing counsel. And I allowed it on one occasion. I allowed it on one, and that was taking a step, but that was just one, and it wasn't so bad. But it's not like it's going to continue going forward per se. But it has to be dire. But I did get
I could not.
give me a little bit of insight, and they gave me a little bit of an opinion.
Not dire, Jesus.
So yeah.
All right. So thank you all for having this conversation with me. Is there anything that you would like to add as we wrap up?
Nope.
I just want to say thank you for thinking to, you know, have me on your podcast. I appreciate it. And it's always great and therapeutic to just, you know, talk about yourself.
Dang.
No, but to talk
to
about,
be a narcissist. No, that's fine.
Exactly. To talk about things that are on your mind or on your heart or just your life in general, and then other like-minded people to get like opinions either that will validate how you're feeling or at least give you a different perspective on how you're feeling and your own journey. So I do appreciate this podcast. Thank you.
What about you, Chanel?
Same. I appreciate you having me on your podcast. No one's ever asked me to do anything like this. So I do feel honored. And I just want to say, lesbian lives matter.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that a lot of people do like to talk about or like want to hear more like queer couples talk about their family experiences, their coming out, just navigating that, because for some people, them coming out or them getting into a relationship might mean they don't have that engagement with their family anymore. For some people, they still do, are able to have it. And then for some, they have to kind of like create their own family. So I think it's good to kind of get different perspectives, from people who their families are accepting or from people who have had to create their chosen family. And so that's why I wanted to have us be able to have the conversation from the perspective of couples, because it is a very visible thing to be in a relationship with another woman and to navigate that in front of your family, the world, your coworkers, whoever it is. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for having this. I benefit a lot from listening to other podcasts that are like queer-centered podcasts, because I feel like, it helps me to navigate my own life. And so you just having a podcast of your own is adding to and helping others to just have, more options to listen to people who are walking the same path as us.
It's been pretty dope. I'm surprised that all these people will tune in every time. I'm like, y'all are not tired of listening to me yet? Okay, then. All right. So that's it for this episode. Remember to call in on the BRQ Google Voice line. You can email all the social media stuff. You can slide in my DMs. You can do all that good stuff. To if you have questions or if you want to send in for the BRQ love letters, all that stuff. That is it. Yeah, I ain't got nothing else to say. Black Radical Queer Podcast is all about intersectionality and Black queer folks sharing our stories on our own terms. We navigate an array of identities, and BRQ is an outlet where we can see the spectrum of those identities reflected, explored, and celebrated. Black Radical Queer is a Main Hustle Media podcast hosted by Javia Nicole, produced and edited by Charmaine Johnson. Music is by Publicity. You can find us on social media by looking up Black Rad Queer. It's BLK RAD QWR. We are on Facebook as well as Instagram and Twitter. Same handle regardless, at Black Rad Queer. BLK RAD QWR. We also have a Facebook discussion group that's just called BRQ Discussion Group. And you can also listen wherever you get your podcasts. So we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, Google Play, all those types of things. And we have, our home base that's on Libsyn, so you can listen on there as well. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Make sure you come on back around next week to see what we have for you. And all right, y'all, I'm out.
Main Hustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.